So now that we're storing a newsletter successfully, let's also store and fetch our comments. For this, I'll go back to the comments API route. And now here we also want to connect with MongoDB and then simply insert a new comment or fetch all comments. So either way, no matter what happens, we want to connect to MongoDB. So before we dive into any if block here, I want to set up my connection. Hence, we need to import Mongo client from MongoDB here, and then repeat the code from before. And of course, we therefore could also look into creating some helper functions, but I will just quickly repeat that. Mongo client connect, and then grab my connection string from the newsletter.js file, paste that in here. And again, I'll use async await, so add async in front of the handler function and await this connection to get access to the client. Now already, after all these if checks, I will go down there and already call client close to make sure that we don't forget this, that we close the connection once we're done with our logic, no matter what our logic was. So now that's that. Now inside of request method post, we want to store our comment here in our database. And for this, I'll create my new comment, but then thereafter, I will use the client and the DB method to get access to the database to which we connected. And for that, actually, I want to adjust the connection string here and not connect to a newsletter database, but instead to my comments database. Or overall, we connect to our events database for the events application, and then we have our emails collection and we have our comments collection. And I think that makes more sense. So I'll connect to the events database in the newsletter.js file as well, and connect to the same database here in the comments API route, events. So then it's this database with which will work. And on that database, I then use the emails collection in the newsletter.js file, or maybe let's now name the collection newsletter, but that's of course up to you. And in the comments event ID file here, I'll connect or I'll work with a collection named comments. And here I now want to insert one new comment. Now it is this comment, but I want to tweak that comment object. I don't want to create my dummy ID anymore because MongoDB will create a unique ID for me, so I don't need to assign my own ID. But instead I want to do something which I haven't done up to this point. I want to use this event ID which we're getting, which is encoded in the URL. And I want to make it clear to which event my comment is related. Because in reality, we would probably manage our events with MongoDB as well. We're not doing that here, but in reality, we would probably manage them in the database as well. So then storing the ID of the related document in some other collection in this document here would make a lot of sense. And that's therefore what I'll do. I'll store event ID as an extra property in the new comment to have this reference to the event to which this comment belongs. And then it's this new comment which I want to insert. So here I'll insert one and I'll insert this new comment. And of course, await this operation. Now we do get back some response here, by the way, some result of that insert one operation. And I will console log that result for now. And therefore, that's now my code here in the post case, so that we add a new comment. Before we work on the get case here, let's save that code and let's see whether it works and makes sense. For this, I'll dive into an individual event, show my comments, and add a new comment with some dummy data. This is a test with MongoDB. Click submit. We still get no feedback here. We could add it, but we haven't done anything in that direction. But if I go to the backend, that looks good. I got an output here. That's this result which I'm logging. Whoops. This result which I'm logging. That's what we see here. And we see that It's quite a long result, quite a detailed output, because result in case of insert 1 is actually containing full details about the operation that was performed, but then also the connection in general and much, much more. Now, what we can see if we go to the cluster is that here, if we reload this page to refresh the data, we got this events database now with a comments collection, and in there we indeed see that comment which I just added. So it was stored successfully in the database. Now, what's also interesting on the result is that on the result we also get back that unique ID, which was generated automatically. That's interesting because that means that on the new comment object, which we stored in the database, we can now add a ID field and set this equal to result.insertedID, so that the new comment which we sent back to the front end also contains this unique ID that was generated. I guess that's convenient to have in case we would work with that inserted comment on the front end right away. So that's now the post case. Let's now work on the get method, where we get our comments.